Evening, afternoon, everyone. Glad to be the last session of the day to close off this event. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Rishi Ganeswaran, Head of Legal Technology and the Chief Privacy Officer for the Yinson group of companies. And I will let my fellow panelists introduce themselves, Estelle and Milan.
Okay, hello everyone. Too happy to be here. I think I have been in the past attended a lot of events. So this is my first event for 2025. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so I'm Estelle Wang. I'm coming from Continental Automotive. Later I want to ask a question, do you know us? I'm leading the Product Cybersecurity and Privacy Office in Singapore. And basically, by name, we are doing a lot of things with automotive. I just want to ask around, do you know about us? Maybe tires a little bit? Yeah, our basically the quite famous product is our tires. But today I want to use another examples. And anybody here heard about the Xiaomi SU7 cars? Okay. Can you raise your hand if you know about the car? Cool. Okay. We are the suppliers, tier 1 suppliers for Xiaomi SU7. And I'm so honored that I'm part of the Conti project cybersecurity manager to develop the cars with Xiaomi customers. Okay, now hope you know us better. Okay, I pass to my fellow panelist.
Hi everyone, I am Milind. Unfortunately, I don't have a second name. This comes from my love for IT people because somehow, you cannot create an email ID or get a job in a company if you don't have a second last name to fill in that IT form. So we fill it with something. I am a principal AI scientist with a leading automotive company. The reason why it says that is because though I work for Mercedes-Benz, I'm here in personal capacity, so can't use the name. Sitting with lawyers, especially important. And I sit usually on the side of the table that they sit on. Trying to argue why we should get more access to more data, but really always grateful to the support of our legal colleagues, which keep people like me out of jail. Looking forward to a great conversation today.
Okay, so thanks guys. So what is today's topic? So basically we're looking at technology and data across cross-border compilatory regulatory issues. So we are looking at about how are the kind of security tools we have and what are the data mechanisms in place and what are the rules that govern any cross-border transfer, maybe in the ASEAN region or even on a global level. So that's one of the things that we'll be, that's the main theme we'll be looking at. And I'll be just discussing some questions to share with my panelists, and they will probably give some highlight tips on their forte of the subject. So the first question is towards Estelle. So the question is, next generation encryption protocols are often touted as the future of secure data transfers. How do these protocols differ from traditional encryption methods, and how are they being implemented to ensure the transfer of data across borders? Now, are there any key challenges that organizations face when adopting these advanced technologies?
Okay, by addressing these questions, I want to also ask another questions. People here, you heard about quantum computer? Great. And if you talk about next generation, immediately come to my brain. Just like one example is the quantum computer, they are coming. And we already use some kind of algorithms to resist against the quantum attacks. So long story short is I was presented seminars in one of our OEM recently. They also have a huge argument between the quantum security and post-quantum security, right? So they don't understand that actually post-quantum is coming before the quantum, okay? So the meaning of post-quantum is that resists against quantum computer. Why now is named as a post, right? So there's maybe some history stories or something, but 30 years ago, I think more than 30 years ago, researchers in the cryptography world, they already have a lot of algorithms which so-called is post-quantum cryptography. Why it's so hot is here is that because of the NIST standards is coming into the pictures recently, and people was really confused with two concepts. Here, I want to elaborate in maybe one short words, because this is not a lecturing, right? So, quantum technology is based on, I cannot describe that, you know that three states, like 0, 1, or 0 or 1 status, where our traditional, you know, those kind of CMOS technology, PC was based on 0, 1, right? Yep. So basic fundamental physics material are different. Okay, you just remember that. Some people was like saying, oh, you know, can I use the post-quantum or quantum together? The answer definitely is no. Because imagine you have a chicken with kind of, you know, leather with a chicken, but now you want the duck to wear chicken feather. It's not possible, right? So that's the same logic I telling to the management of that OEM, okay? So finally they understand. Okay, then come back to our questions. Most people has the confusions with that, oh, post-quantum cryptography, maybe it's quite complicated. They are based on the latex, you know, treaties or something. Maybe they are slow. Maybe they are not so used to it. But the answer is no. We did an experiment in the IoT devices. It's faster and more secure. But why people is a bit lazy to transforming from the new technology, you know, to really substitute the old one? The answer is quite clear. It's driven by the cost, driven by the market. Yeah. So if the RSA still exists, still okay. Nobody want to switch to a new one. So now we are in a transit periods where we need to change faster to this quantum computer. Google in 2019, or maybe earlier, they already implement one of the post-quantum cryptography in our browsers. Anybody feel that about it? No, right? But that's already a technology transforming already in your daily life. Yeah? So what I want to see here is the new technology is here, is ready for the data encryption and all this. But I also want to elaborate another thing is the law and compliance. We have a lawyer here. They definitely, the technology cannot solve all the compliance issue. But I will elaborate more in the next questions on that, yeah.
All right, that was a fine explanation by Estelle. Now, just something directed at Milind. Now, I think this is more towards something that is close to our hearts. Recently, we're talking about ChatGPT. We are talking about all AI-related tools that will come into play. So this is going to be an AI-related question. Now, Milind, AI has the potential to enhance cybersecurity and compliance efforts. How is AI currently being used to secure cross-border transfers, and how do you foresee AI playing a larger role in the future of global data security?
Okay, thank you, Ravi, for that question. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Rishi, my mistake. AI is going to play a huge role in cybersecurity, and this is a given. We saw about 6 months back, roughly, with one of the old, outdated versions of GPT-4o. There was famous study where these researchers did a A/B study. They put GPT-4o to work to try and break security, corporate security, vis-a-vis humans as against humans. If I remember the numbers correctly, which I might not, but you get the idea of the scale, that humans were successful somewhere between 2 to 5% of the time, and GPT-4 was 4o was able to break the security protocols about 40% of the time. That is the huge gap. And this is really old, outdated model, and not even the latest reasoning models that we talk about. And the primary difference is speed. The speed with which AI can scan through solution space, potential solutions, one. And the secondary difference is the number of parameters it can keep in mind while doing so. Which means, what does that mean? A typical human can probably keep in mind 3 to 4 parameters while taking a decision. Six Sigma, maybe 7, 8 parameters at a time. This is why we have management reports. 2x2 matrix as the most popular tool, because if you give them 9x9, your boss brain will overload. But this is not true for AI. It can have billions, trillions of parameters all at the same time in its mind while it is taking decision. So with this speed, of scanning through solution space and learning over millions, billions, trillions of parameters while it is doing so, which essentially means that it doesn't have to scan the entire solution space. It learns where the high probability areas are and cracks it. This ability essentially means that it will be used for attacks. What it also essentially means that no number of humans, no human force will be able to stop them. So the cybersecurity, you can only fight an AI with another AI. This is really a given. And to secure systems also, you will need AI to do all the penetration testing and all the other things that you want to do. One of the points that I would also like to highlight, which is a corollary of what I just said about ability to learn high probability, learn regions of high probabilities of finding the solution and scanning through solution space, is a slightly different example from cybersecurity, but it will help make the point I'm trying to make. We cracked the protein folding problem more than a year back now. 3-4 years back, we used to believe in fact 3 years back, we still used to believe that this problem is way too hard to be cracked until we have large quantum computers, because the solution space is so large. What we have realized is that there are very, very few problems where you actually have to scan the entire solution space. Because if you are doing a brute force search over the solution space, then of course, you cannot do it with a conventional computer. But if you can figure out, which areas to completely ignore, which is what AI can do with its ability to keep trillions of parameters in its mind. The hard problems that really needed quantum computers to be solved can be solved by AI, probably on your laptop by next year. So AI is one of those things that is going to fundamentally change and I mean it, yeah, fundamentally change how we view cybersecurity. A lot of these algorithms that we use are actually based on that assumption that you will end up having to scan a huge amount of solution space, and this is not possible, yeah, in human lifetime. But again and again we are seeing you don't necessarily have to do that. Yeah? So things that we believe are uncrackable today, maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, you will realize that maybe not for us, but there is something else that exists that can do that. So I hope I was able to bring some insight and perspective on the driving force that AI is, and how and why it is going to change cybersecurity. And we are all working to use AI as an ally to secure our systems, because that is super important.
Thanks, Milind, for that. Yes, AI is, I mean, it's a new feature in today's world, and it used to be with caution. I think that's the word I would use. I mean, it's like fire, right? It's a good slave, but a bad master. So we need to be, happy that AI is here to facilitate all the functions, but also wary of certain repercussions if we over-rely on it. All right, next question. This time it's back to Estelle. Now, let's look at the regional compliance for data transfer. Now, we have a lot of regulations like the Cybersecurity Act 2018, we have the GDPR, we have the PDPA, we have a lot of global cybersecurity legislation and privacy legislation. Like, I'll give you an example. China just came up with their PIPL and their cybersecurity laws. Now, what are the key compliance challenges you have faced in ensuring data transfers across jurisdiction? Because different jurisdictions will have different varying levels of compliance regime, and how do you overcome them?
That's very good questions, right? So these topics also reflecting the panelist titles that we talk about across region data transfer. The key challenge is that, one long story short, is every region want to keep their own data, no matter it's like Europe, China, or even Singapore. But I believe the government side is, they don't want to stop the technology itself to share, to be more, trained with other regions' data. So this is a big challenge for MNC companies like us. So imagine they have China data where they cannot transfer out, and we want to train a model which, including China or including other regions. This is really a kind of problematic for us and also for our customers, also the suppliers, right? So this is more the conflict between the technology itself and also the compliance side. I don't have a perfect solutions here. That's should be agreed by everybody. We have certain technology like homomorphic encryptions, which can softly solve certain of the compliance issue. Like I said, if you have 10 compliance rules in whatever GDPR or PIPL, the China side, as a lawyer, data compliance officer, you still need to follow that. But as a technology person, to help you to do that, for example, without the technology, you can only fulfill 2 or maybe 8 by law, by a lot of very fixed terms there. But with the technology, maybe can help you to avoid maybe 5 out of 10. But that 5 is still under the law scope. The other 5 you can solve with the technology.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to add in something?
Yeah, I mean, for example, let's say some regional laws like Singapore PDPA, we have a privacy practice in place, we have a cybersecurity regime in place. But Singapore cybersecurity laws is nowhere near the threshold set by, let's say, China. And Singapore privacy laws is nowhere near the privacy regime of, let's say, GDPR in EU. So is there a baseline standard? Let's say if I'm a huge MNC, I have offices in Shanghai, London, New York, Singapore. How would your management program be? So that to ensure that you are compliant on a trend, because there'll be like day-to-day transfer of information every day throughout all your office within the organization. So how do you address that?
Right, that's very good questions. I remember, first of all, I want to address my self-responsibilities on the product level, not on the enterprise level. But I do assist in those HR data transfer. Right, so we do have a case like, okay, we have a cloud tool which can capture, check-in, check-out data, check-in, check-out times of our, engineers in the plant, right? So the cases are different in China, and also the cases are different in ASEAN region. I think cloud can partially help that. Right, so, but definitely the cloud providers should consider different regions to set up their own cloud servers into the different region. But by cloud technology, I think this could be merged as the harmonization solutions for our MNC. That's something I see and also benefit. Yeah. I'm not sure if you have other solutions for us. The HR data, we are using cloud now. For the product data, because it's not very sensitive to privacy, it's more the business data. Now we don't have an issue. I can't see maybe less risk of the issue for data transfer. Yeah.
I think from a legal point of view, what you should do is have a kind of a management protocol or program that will at least address the basics of compliance. I'll give you an example. Consent request, the purpose of why you collect information, why are you transferring information. These are the commonalities that will reflect whether you're in Singapore, whether in China, whether in GDPR. And then there'll be the additional issues that need to be addressed in that specific offices. So for the purposes of data transfer, as long as we have some kind of a baseline transfer mechanism that will align us with how we comply with GDPR, with China, so we should have some kind of like an Excel table that will say, okay, from a GDPR point of view, what is my transfer mechanism? China transfer mechanism, Singapore transfer mechanism, which is probably quite low. And then what are the policies and procedures that I will implement it so that I can have a baseline standard that will be compliant. Now that exercise already will take months. But once you have the management protocol in place, then whatever infringement that happens, at least you can show to the auditors that you have done this baseline exercise. You maybe have consulted external privacy experts, you have implemented this, and maybe you have a cross-border framework agreement. And once all this is in place, I think you'll be a bit more secure than not even conducting this exercise. Yeah. All right, the next, I think probably the last question is let's address the future of where we are headed. Now, preparing for the future of cross-border data security. This is, I think, for both Milan and Estelle. So looking ahead, how do you anticipate the landscape for cross-border data security will evolve over the next few years? What emerging technologies or regulatory changes should organizations be aware to maintain a strong security posture? Now, this is in line with the new AI Act, the EU AI Act, the EU Data Act that has been implemented in EU. So what are your thoughts on it?
Thank you, Rishi. Okay. Usually legal questions are not my forte, but since you mentioned the EU AI Act. Of course, there is some movement in this direction. Different countries are trying to enact AI acts, data security acts, etc. However, at least me personally, I'm in wait and watch mode, simply because of what US is doing. Yeah? And I have a slightly different perspective on this one. Now, when we say data security, cross-border security, my question, since my job is more to understand the data, my question usually is why and for what. Yeah? So whether it is PII data, yeah, company secrets, yeah, trade secrets and stuff like that. And all of them have different consequence of breaches. Very often when we are talking about cross-border transfers, yeah, a bulk of the focus is really on PII information. And this is where, at least for the future, I don't worry too much about it. I think it is coming from the historical perspective where AI usually meant analytics. Yeah, for the longest time, and when people say AI means analytics, those algorithms have been around for a decade or more, yeah, sometimes 3 or 4 decades. And we all know how much impact they made outside of a few companies like Amazon and Microsoft, which are, yeah, pure tech companies. The reason why we talk about AI today is not because of decision trees and, yeah, old analytics related use cases. We talk about AI today because of completely new capabilities that we see in foundation models. At the moment, and this is already 7-8 months back, OpenAI came out with 5 steps that we need to cross, and 5th step is artificial general intelligence. And they defined what the 5 steps are. Step 1 was large language models, which exploded, yeah, about 2 years back. Second step is large reasoning models, which came 6 months back. R1 made a huge impact on popular psyche. Third step is agents. Agents essentially means different AI working together. Most people sincerely, most businesses are focused on implementing agents in 2025. The next step are innovators. Innovators basically meaning they will be able to come up with completely new knowledge, yeah, which is essentially not part of their training data. Yeah? So think of an AI which can come up with general theory of relativity by looking at data. And last step is artificial general intelligence, and they define it as one-person company. So the thing to understand here is that we are talking about AI not because it can do analytics. We are talking about AI because it can completely transform how the business is done. It can do everything in a company. And this is what we are talking, if this is what we are talking about, we are talking about foundation models which learn the patterns of why things are and how things happen. And if this is, so for training of these models, we need a lot of data, but with reasoning models, we are seeing that it is more and more reinforcement learning. They're creating their own training data. And all this talk about PII, et cetera, is not really that important. Yeah? We always still talk about this, I don't need the name of your customer. Yeah? Because the impact of, yeah, if my AI model can, without knowing the name, look at its behavior, that person's behavior, and knows already what this behavior leads to, what kind of outcome it leads to. Yeah, so future, I don't see PII, at least from an AI and foundation model perspective, being much of an issue. Yeah, okay. We have bigger issues. Okay. But I will stop here and lead to Esther.
Oh, sure. AI Act actually, okay, as a technology and in R&D, we already follow up, I think, from 2, 3, 4 years ago. And we are a European-based company. To be more specific, it's a German-based company. We are also sitting in the rest of the regulatory bodies like VDA, German, ALCA, Kleber, all these like a global, industry, manufacturing forums. Basically, to come back to that question for AI Act, equaling we have in Singapore, we have a technical references 99, which talk about cybersecurity assessment for the AI. So basically here, probably you heard about explanation AI, right? This help us or help the government to understand your AI model. AI Act, if you link back to the cybersecurity, this guide you give you a kind of risk levels of your AI model in the different, different domain. For example, medical health part, usually the rating is very high, where maybe in the autonomous driving, those AI model also critical because the safety related is also high. But those like maybe you use it in the robotics in a plant, in the enclosed environment, and the risk is low, right? So basically give a kind of operators or AI model creators a guideline how good your model is. The other side, how risk your model was used daily for the different industry. Yeah. For the interested people, you can take a look at those kind of, some kind of risk management like cybersecurity. Yeah, so you're rating the different levels of that thing, okay? Then the Data Act. Okay, Data Act is another good point. The differences I just want to tell here are from Data Act and the GDPR. So GDPR is more the lawful-based regulators, where the AI Act is more talking about operation data. So for example, does your data get a poison, right? Because you fit into the AI, you have clean data, trustable data, right? You don't want to fit in the hacked data or some data with vulnerables where in the end your AI model is not accurate. So that's the main differences of these two. But since the Data Act is just coming up, right? It's just coming up, not that popular now, right? But I attended one of the webinar, asked the same questions. They are very interesting. They have industries, government, and also academia people are there in that round, also the lawyers. We are discuss about how to dealing with this, right? So I just say maybe you can input more on that perspective. Yeah.
But I'm thankful, but unfortunately we have run out of time. So thanks for that wonderful discussion with my panelists. And if you have any questions and answers, feel free to always engage us later after this session. You have been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much.